Well, hello everybody. It's the weekly catch-up with myself and the co-host, Jeffrey K. Holbrook. But we had a little bit of a delay today, but let's get going. Now, after the troubles I was having getting in, I thought, oh, he came in by himself. So because I assigned you as co-host, you got in by yourself.
That could be it. I think that's it. Yeah. Boy, I feel so powerful.
That's right. I just don't know what it is with Blab and Wirecast. There's something that in it that it just does not like. Like I got on there at 10:02, thought that's why I always start so early. But what about show 6, 7, and 8 was fine. I got straight in. There was no issue getting into there whatsoever. And there's nothing I'm doing wrong because it's quite easy to do. But what I usually have to do is change the output from one stream back to another one until it keeps. It's usually on 540p that will get me through. But I have to change it to 720 and then back again, and then eventually it comes through. But those other times I did it, it didn't seem to have a problem. I went on, was it YouTube last night just to do the little promo thing that I usually do, but that wasn't working either. But it streamed, but just the last 2 seconds that I switched it off. So I forgot I must have to wait until it accepts me into the YouTube part, but it's quite easy to do the YouTube streaming.
Yeah, where these things are all happening in the United States, I could see how some type of a transocean connection might have a little bit of a trouble. But like you say, we're patient. We'll get in here as quick as we can.
Yeah, the thing is, it's not the I can still get there, but it's something to do with Blab, because if I just switched everything off and just had my webcam, it would work.
Yeah, this it works flawlessly for me, but then again, I don't have the fancy firepower that you do over there with your cool video.
But that's why, because I'm going through the Canon camera, going into Wirecast, and I've got to do it as a virtual camera out, but it shouldn't be anything. It's just a stream of what's coming out of my computer with the microphone. So that shouldn't be an issue whatsoever.
No,
So I just don't understand why the problem. Anyway, how are you?
Oh, I am doing fine. Now, there's been some pretty big devastation here in West Virginia. I don't know if you heard about it down there. A lot of flooding has happened around here.
No, I haven't.
No, it's pretty bad. I think 20 some people died, 23, 24 people died. And so my aunt and uncle, my cousin, her husband, they were completely flooded out. And some friends of mine that have I talked about them on here before, the Cinema Toast podcast, Cinema Toast Crunch podcast. They got flooded out over in Clendenin, which is an area not too far from here. That's they had about knee-high water inside their house. And what happens is in West Virginia, where it's so mountainous around here, you can have rain, and it'll rain for 2 or 3 days, if you have a rainy time, and then then you have a real hard rain at the end of it, and then it'll quit, but the water keeps rising after the rain quits. And the reason why is because there's runoff from the mountains. So you think everything's going to be fine. Well, it stopped 3 or 4 feet short of your house, and then it stops raining. And over the next 4 hours, it comes up and up and up into your house. And pretty soon it's up to your waist inside your house. And then it finally subsides, and it leaves a big bunch of sand and debris. And I mean, there's waste treatment plants that get overrun, maybe some kind of chemical storage things or something like that. And it just makes this big toxic soup coming through that just is, I mean, it's a health hazard. There's been a lot of flood relief efforts and stuff like that. And the Red Cross, now they're supposed to give everybody, and again, I'm not going to jump on the Red Cross because they do a lot of good work. But I've worked in a flood area before, helping people that I knew that got flooded, and they took me, I was a teenager, they took me in a local church and gave me a tetanus shot because you might step on, there's plenty of nails to be stepping on, stuff like that. The Red Cross doesn't have tetanus shots now. For some reason, they just don't seem to have any. There's some people that have gone to pharmacies and their insurance would pay for one or something like that, but the Red Cross are supposed to have them to pass out and give them to everybody that's working in the area. But they don't have them. And so, like you say, a lot of volunteerism going on, a lot of people running around and doing, just enormously big work. As local businesses that didn't get flooded are like going food. A lot of the churches are setting up kitchens to feed the workers, and to, water is being shipped in and everything like that. And pretty devastating stuff for the people who, now I lived in a mobile home in a trailer near a creek for a few years. And I do know the fear of coming home and finding out that my wife floated down the river with the trailer while I was at work, but it never did happen. My brother-in-law spent enough time playing around in the creek with his tractor and widening it out, so I didn't have to worry about that. But I worried anyway. So now when we bought a house, we live up on top of a mountain. So it's not, it would completely wipe out the entire Canal Valley before it got up as high as we are. But like you say, everybody knows somebody that, that got flooded out, and they generally know someone who was related to a person who was killed, a lot of the time. So a pretty devastating thing going on right now. But something eerie, I decided, for the podcast feed that I released the Jeff and Jeffrey weekly catch up on, it's just basically an audio feed for my website. So I also release other things on the same feed. One of the features that I have started doing is recording sounds, like nature sounds. It might be once I released something that had to do with just night sounds of the, crickets and everything like that. And a couple cars went by, you hear the stereo effect, Well, on the 23rd of June, a big storm came through here. And so I opened my front door and got my recorder and set it up, and I recorded more than 15 minutes of this storm. That was the day it flooded. I actually recorded the storm that flooded everybody out.
Oh,
and
so
it's kind of, it is. It's kind of eerie, but I am releasing that, talking about the flooding and, things like that. I'm releasing a thing about that this morning around 8:00 on the audio feed that does have the recording in stereo of the actual thing, and basically telling everybody, don't forget the victims. Once the press coverage dies down, don't forget the victims, because it's going to be a long, hard pull, I think.
Yeah, it just amazes me how people do cope with that, because like around your area, that side of the country, it gets a lot of that, doesn't it? With the tornadoes and that down that side of the country on the Midwest, and that's
the hurricanes, a lot of hurricanes, of course, on the coasts and stuff. You hear more about hurricanes over on our side, which you guys, I guess, would call a cyclone, I guess. Which is probably a better term, cycle, like a cyclone. I guess that'd be a better term than what we have. But then out west from where we're at, in the Midwest, right in the middle, is what they call Tornado Alley. And there's a lot of tornadoes constantly blowing around through there and tearing things up. In West Virginia, we do have tornadoes touch down, but they don't last very long. The conventional wisdom is that they bang up against the mountains and get broken up, and the air currents are such, once they get on the ground, they can't do much. But scientists say that's not the truth. But for some reason, we do seem to be protected from any long term. They can't just go in a straight line for several miles like they can out west. But out west, they just will devastate big, extended, long shots of property and stuff, and suck people up, and it's pretty bad thing. But go ahead.
But it seems to go year after year, though. I just don't know how these people can survive, but they stay around and that. But it's just, just don't know how they manage.
It's home. There's a really, I know in West Virginia, there's really a sense of home. Not saying that nobody's moved out. The main thing that will make a West Virginian move away is if they can't find work. then they move away. Like there's been a couple times in the 80s, there was this big exodus down south because there was a lot of construction going on from all of the hurricanes that had come through all at once and had torn up a lot of the area. So construction was booming down there, and people here were losing their jobs in the coal mines, which, you know, have been slowly or steadily losing people. As machines replaced them at first, and now the demand for coal seems to be, in domestically anyway, is going down. So so they would just go and get a job down south, you know, doing construction. Well, there would be mass exodus going out, and that's about. But when it comes down to it, they would rather stay here. This is home, and everybody's really attached to it. But a job is about the only thing that'll make people leave, unless they marry someone from another state who is even more attached to home, and then they'll move with them.
Yeah. So there's not much natural disasters in your area usually, is there?
Flooding is our worst thing. And we do occasionally have forest fires, but forest fires can't burn like they do in California and just keep going and going and going. They have to burn up, and then they have to burn down into the next valley. And they can do that, but it's much slower burning downhill. You know,
that's right.
Uphill, it gets up there really quickly. But burning down, and then with the air currents going through between the hills, they can't really get away from us as badly around here as they seem to in California. Plus, we don't have the dry climate like they do. Now, we do have times whenever they ban burning altogether because it does get dry, but we don't seem to be devastated by those the way they are out in California. But
now we're lucky. We're lucky down here in Melbourne. We don't get too much extremes of anything. We do have the wildfires in the bush areas and that which nearly everybody has in a place that gets very hot, but we don't suffer. We don't have any cyclones. We don't have any tornadoes. We don't have any earthquakes. We don't have any floods to mention. You know, you might get a little bit what they call a flood, maybe a couple of inches on the ground if in a really bad area, but it's usually fairly good. Like up in Queensland, that's similar to yours. In the hinterland there, they get a lot of flooding. And I just find it so unbelievable that they say, it's 8 meter deep floods. I can't believe that, and you see these factories that are below underwater and you think, how can, I just can't conceive how deep that is, to how big an area it's got to cover to get to 8 meters. Like, yes, I know how much 8 meters is, but I said it's got to go a hell of a long way to stop there. And you see some of the news pictures, and like you said, it pours down with rain, but that's nothing of what happens when it stops. And then you see these like Niagara Falls coming down the mountain, and these people say, my God, and if they're in the way, watch it, because that's what really, as you said, and that's obviously what's happened around your way, and it just kills people because it just gets them off guard, and people just try, and I don't know, like there, but here they do silly things. They think they can outrun things or drive cars through it, and that's what kills a lot of people, and they get swept away. And
we had one really, really bad situation that everybody's emotionally attached to. There was the grandparents, they had their grandson with them, and he was 4 years old, and he loved to swim. And so they, I believe, come out on the porch and was looking at the water, and the little boy went, "Oh boy," and jumped in.
And he jumped in. Oh no.
And I mean, did not recognize the danger. Grandpa couldn't move fast enough to stop him. He was just, like a 4-year-old can be. And he just jumped in. And it was a couple of days later, they found him downstream. But that's just a heartrending story, because he saw water. He loves water. And of course, parents should teach your kids to be able to function in the water, but he didn't understand the danger and saw water and was excited and jumped in. They couldn't catch him. I cannot imagine, being the one standing.
That's what we were saying the other week about getting older. When you're getting older, when you watch the news and you do tear up, it just makes you cry. Yeah. When you're younger, it doesn't seem to affect you. But when you get older, you just think of your day at work and your day of moaning and groaning about something you've complained about, and you thought, who am I to complain? And when you see a family like that, just lost their their 4-year-old grandson, and somebody's lost their son. You just, like you said, I just can't imagine the grief that people go through. Like, I'm getting upset just thinking about that, and I never saw the news, don't know the person,
right,
or anything, and you just think it's just sending shivers through my spine. It's but people are just so resilient, though. I just don't know how people go on, but they do, and they get over it and they cope with it, and like I said, makes your silly little thing that you were worrying about thinking, just get over it.
Yeah, if there's time, if you really care anything about history or know anything about history, if I'm having a bad day and I'm really starting to get angry about something, usually at work or something like that, then it's kind of like, all you have to do is look back in history and think of the kind of lives that some people had way back when. For instance, I'm at work, my wife's here, no Vikings showed up and and took my wife away. And the whole bit. No, that didn't happen to us today. We're good. No. I mean, that could have, because that happened to people all the time back when some invaders would come in and you never knew your village would be overrun by, it didn't happen today. We're good. All these first world problems that we have, and there's people starving, so it's like, you're so upset that you had a flat tire. Well,
we're fortunate enough to have a tire that can go flat.
Exactly.
So a lot of people don't have that opportunity. So.
Okay. And I was going to say, you go ahead.
No, you go.
Oh, I was going to change the subject on something a little brighter.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Bill DeWeese, you've mentioned him before.
Yes.
I listen to a podcast every now and then that it's a real quick podcast where this guy just asks him what he did this week. And
yes, that's right. I saw that.
And he just goes through the different clients he worked with, and stuff, and how much money he made this week. I mean, like his goal is like $5,000 or $6,000 a week or something. Well, I only made $3,800 this week. So stuff like that. But you know what his rate is to do e-learning? I figured you would find this interesting.
No, what was it?
Okay, $20 per finished minute. Which I do believe you said in the past you had hired people to do that kind of work before you started doing it yourself. $20 a minute. I'm just sitting there like, I'm in the car and I'm like, I was thinking, and again, he's the top of the line guy, but I just found it amazing that he could charge $20 per finished minute, just a minute. I mean, wow.
But I think that's free learning. I think for most of the jobs, if it's it's usually about $100 a minute. If it's promotional stuff, depends on where it's going to be aired. Whereas the e-learning's a pretty closed market, so it's cheaper. But if it's a broadcast one, because you're not getting any of the residuals or anything like that, I think that pushes it up. But that was interesting. It quite amazes me that Bill's would. I won't be. It's quite good telling. It's really good for the person trying to aspire, because he gives you all the ins and outs, and really goes into what he actually does, and so you're not under any misillusion of how to do it in the voiceover business. Because there's one thing learning about doing the voiceover bit, but it's the business that he concentrates on as well. Because you've either got it or you haven't for the voice. I'm sure there's a bit of practice. But the big thing that kills most people is people out there who can speak and do a wonderful job at voiceover, but they've got no business sense. And it's one of those things where I think he says you have to keep promoting yourself, pushing yourself out and going out there. And it's just your business ethics as well that take us. So when you've been hired, when you deliver on time and all the good quality, will rehire you.
And that's the thing. This podcast talks about, for instance, the guy, he says, I was on the mic about three hours today. I did, this client, and this client, and this client. And then the guy says, well, what did you do with the other time? Oh, I was doing some auditioning and prospecting for this and this and this, and I was doing this, and I called up, and then there was somebody, who I spent some time negotiating with on another job that they actually contacted me for. the $20 per finished minute, the reason why they talked about that was because he had been working with someone, I believe in India, and then he said that you can't get $20 per finished minute in India. But they were going for they were trying to get him to do something for $5 or something like that. And he finally settled with them at $10 per finished minute, which is top money in India. And he knows that market will not go more than 10, but he got 10. And so he said, yes, I will do this. And I will continue to work with you, because he had a client, I believe, who was getting him work in India. And and this was one of their clients that then contacted him directly when he stopped working with this other person. And then they settled at $10 was what they'd settled at. And so, but the thing is, if you're doing something that the finished minute is only 2 minutes, then yes, you could make $100 per finished minute. But if you are doing e-learning that may take an hour, $20 per finished minute is a tremendous amount of money. Like an e-learning module, they're not 2 minutes. I've met some could be, but I'm saying you got some extended training here. $20 a minute is a lot of money for a longer form of stuff.
And a lot of e-learning modules, there would be, sets in on average about 20 minutes a module if you do a decent one. And a lot of them have more than one module, because you don't want to have it go any more than 10 or 20 minutes, but you might do 5 or 6. And like from what I see, if they get people on there to do something, quite often that company has 300 to 400 module content that they say, here's some content, can you put a voiceover to it, rather than somebody having to read it. That's usually the ones who don't want to spend too much time doing e-learning modules, that just sort of do voiceovers for their PowerPoints, which, hey, that's not the best of e-learning, but it's better than having nothing, just to have it recorded there. So there's one I saw, because I have a look at, there's a place called voices.com where you can get jobs. If you've seen that one. Oh, we've got somebody in there.
Yeah,
is that Lottie?
No, that is Eileen, Miss Eileen.
Eileen, no. So I saw the picture. I thought it was Lottie. Eileen. I'm sure I've seen Eileen in some other blabs.
She is a major public, like a public platform guru person. She knows everything. Oh, she's giving me love. She goes, and what the thing I like about her the most is the fact that she tells it like it is. She just straightforward and say, this is what you do and this is how it goes. You want to talk to her for a minute?
Yes, certainly.
Hey, Miss Eileen, you want to come in?
Maybe not.
She says, I'm a big time smarty pants. Laugh out loud. She's coming in.
Oh,
yeah.
Let her in there.
Here we go.
Oh,
there you are.
How you doing?
Hi.
Hey, pretty good.
I was just kidding around. I had to, because Jeffrey was saying all those wonderful things about me. So I was like, yeah, I'm a big time smarty pants.
Well, yeah. The smart part I get into, because she knows all of her stuff about social media.
Yeah, social media, blogging, and YouTube, and podcasting.
Yeah, she does all that. Yep, she podcasts.
Yeah, and so Jeffrey been telling me about you guys' show, and this is the first time I've been able to join, so I'm honored to be here.
Well,
thank you for popping in.
Tell us how you record your podcast.
Well, I was recording it here on Blab.
I remember that.
And I'm not sure if I'm just going to continue until Blab goes away or whatever. And so in the meantime, I'm going to start using Huzza.
I heard you talk about that the other day. What exactly is Huzza? Would you mind giving us the...
Huzza is, and you can pronounce it Huzza, Huzza. It doesn't matter. They want people to embrace all the different dialects and pronunciations. And it's a site that's very similar or has a lot of the features of Blab. Of course, not all, because Blab is like the perfect platform. When I came here, I was like, oh my God, this is it. I'm going to record my podcast here. I love it. And so since then, of course, there's been tons of other sites that have come out with some of, the features of Blab, but then other things integrated. So the other piece that Huzzah has integration with is Patreon. And so these guys who started I call them kids, because I'm old enough to do that. And they're probably in their 20s. I'm sure they're grown men, but these two kids who are musicians, and they already were on Patreon. And so they wanted to have a way that you can not only do the live broadcast like this, but also to have Patreon only content for your patron. And you can now embed those into your Patreon. And Patreon is something that I had been signed up for, but didn't give that much attention and love to. And so now this gives me opportunity to go ahead and, I went back and I redid my page, put up a different banner, changed my goals. And the reason why I encourage folks, especially the ones that I've met here on Blab in the last year, to sign up for Patreon and then do the Huzzah integration is because Patreon makes you think. It makes you think, why am I here? Like, why am I using live streaming to begin with? Then it also makes you set up goals. So what are your goals? Do you want to buy a new computer? Or, do you just want to send your kids to college, whatever it may be? And because you have to, articulate all of that on your Patreon page. So I like the fact that it makes people, really think about their why. And also you have to share what value you're offering, because when you set up the rewards for folks in Patreon, you have to say, well, I'm going to do webinars, or I'm just going to send them PDFs. And then musicians are like, well, they can get my songs first, or whatever the case may be. So that's really the piece that made me lean toward Huzzah, as opposed to all these other platforms are out there. It's really the Patreon integration.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't messed with Patreon at all. My problem is I haven't, and I know you're going to say this is not true, but I have not had the time to do social media. That is my main failing in life. It's the social media, because working full-time, overtime, stuff like that, getting content out consistently is my main number one thing between working overtime at work. And so I don't have an hour a day or 2 hours a day to do social media. And from what I've heard, to service a Patreon account, and everything you need to do and keep up with everyone. And Twitter, Twitter is so easy. I can even do it from my phone, but I can't Twitter from work because I can't take my phone out on the workroom floor. Like you see people over there in the corner trying to hide and do, it's whatever I do. Social media is here setting up my console. Jeff, have you ever looked into Patreon or anything like that?
No, I haven't, but I'm a bit similar to you. I have trouble with the social media thing. I try to do, when I get up, have breakfast, do my tweets and that beforehand, but it's about half an hour a day, because if I don't watch it, if I'm not careful, I'm doing it all the time. And that's where when we decided to do this show every Wednesday for an hour, because Jeff and I got together on Blab a couple of times, but we found just getting together 4 hours later, we were still talking. And we thought, we've got to stop this. So we said, we'll come every Wednesday for an hour, and an hour only. And so if you stay around long enough, in another 31 minutes, something will pop up that say, we've gone over an hour, let's finish it there. So we also as well, it's good so we don't get fed up and but get over the system, because I love Blab, but I think you can just get so addicted. Would you agree with that, Eileen?
I'm number one junkie. And so this is why we're concerned, because we don't know how long the platform is going to stay around in its current state. They are running some experiments. They have this app called Bebo, Swipe to Chill, and it's more of just an hangout type of app, not really for broadcasting and not catering so much to us podcasters and so forth. But we'll see. I mean, right now the tools that are here are really still great. And, I'm not poo-pooing Blab. I just, we always got to have a plan B.
Yes. Have you had much into the live streaming with YouTube?
Absolutely. In fact, I have 2 tutorials on my YouTube channel, because I also do YouTube, if I didn't mention that earlier. And you know, tutorials are my thing. So no matter what platform I'm on, I'm doing tutorials. So there, even though YouTube is coming out with their app, well, actually they're going to integrate live streaming into the YouTube app. But right now, only the big time YouTubers like PewDiePie, and I can't remember any of those other guys because I don't watch any of them, but they're the only ones that have access. But there are 2 apps in iOS that you can go live on YouTube right now, and I have tutorials for both of them. And one of them is Wirecast Go, and the other and the Wirecast Go is free, but it's freemium. To upgrade, it's $5.99. And if you're going to use Wirecast Go, I recommend doing the upgrade, but you can save your money if you have patience to wait for the YouTube thing. And the other one, which is free and I love, is called Live Air Solo. And that's the one I recommend folks use, because what Live Air Solo does, and also works with Facebook Live, is it lets you bring in a pre-recorded clip into the video. So this is great for me because I do tutorials and I do screencasts. So I did a little pre-recorded tutorial of something that I wanted to show. I went on live YouTube and brought in that clip, and also brought in my intro clip, to play my little music, something that I made in Animoto. I think it's like a 15-second clip, had it looping. And so, YouTube Live is great. Now, the only problem with YouTube Live, and I think YouTube is going to be doing something to address this, is really the notification system. You know, as far as your subscribers, like for me, for example, I subscribe to hundreds of YouTube channels. Okay. But I don't have notifications turned on my iPhone. So I don't know that somebody is live until later. In other words, the email doesn't come until later.
until the record
halfway
until the recording's there.
And so I'm not really, I'm like, okay, I may get the email while they're still on, depending upon how long their show was. So you don't get it instantly, because as you know, even if you send yourself a Gmail, it doesn't always come right away. And I can send myself a Gmail from the same Gmail account, because I'll be on my phone and I'm like, oh, I need to email that to myself, and it's like, oh, I didn't get there yet. So that's the only thing, is that the notification system, I think, needs a little bit of improvement. And I understand that YouTube is working on that, and I'm really pleased with that, and I think this is going to be a battle of YouTube against Facebook when it comes to the live streaming.
Well, I find with because I use Wirecast, and that's what I thought, because I can stream, and I just thought it was just normal. But with Wirecast, once it's set up, it's quite easy.
That's not really your background there.
No.
that is the city he lives in. Yeah, so he doesn't have skeleton things, and so he had to get Wirecast just so he could show something else.
Oh, you were sitting right in front of the river.
But one of the things with that, as soon as all you just have to do is press the streaming button on the top corner, and then I could stream. My stream would just go straight to YouTube. But it's that's what we're trying to do. But it'd be good if I could get this stream onto the YouTube. But that's a bit awkward to do that.
Yeah, because it would.
Whereas you can, but you can do it the other way with what I can do with Wirecast. Like if Jeff and if he was on Skype and we did it on YouTube, I could stream that from there into Blab and have one big screen.
Folks do it all the time. A couple of guys that do that here regularly are Stephen. Actually, Stephen is known as the Tech Buzz, and he actually works.
Haywood. Yes. Stephen Haywood. Yeah, we've had him on
Telestream, who are the people who make Wirecast. And so just to be clear, if anybody who may be listening to this later, the Wirecast software that you install on your computer is different than the app that's only available on iOS.
Yes.
Just to be clear.
Yes, because you've got things like Ustream as well. Ustream has the cut down version of Wirecast also that they give free with Ustream, but it's quite a bit different.
Did you know that IBM purchased Ustream?
No,
yes.
Did they?
And it's really going to be for professional and for enterprise level Like you can get a free account with Ustream, but
it's useless. I found it's just too slow, and you just say hello, and then the advert comes in, and then you just get back, and then it's the advert again. And if you pay, because my other podcasting buddy, Rick Zanardi, he had the Ustream account, but that was costing something ridiculous amount, about $1,500 a year or something, which is for. Especially when we went from Justin TV, which was absolutely free, which was fantastic. And that was, did you ever do anything with that one with Justin TV?
No, I was annoyed by the ads that I would see, usually with those in the previous generation of live streaming apps, like Spreecast is one that just decided to shut their doors. I don't know if they did it yet, but I think it's coming if it didn't happen already. And Justin TV, I would just see so many ads as a user. You go to that page and they're just like, oh gosh, forget this. I might as well watch TV.
Yeah.
So, there's just so many live streaming apps that are out now, but I think that folks should definitely focus on the Facebook Live and YouTube, especially folks that haven't done it before, they haven't got into it, and they're just like, where should I begin? You might want to practice on a place like Blab just to get used to being on cam and all that stuff.
I think that's the thing, is people just get a bit worried about being on camera and that. And if you do, this is the ideal place, because you're just having a friendly chat with people, and that's what you're doing really in all the things. And I just used to have a thing about doing these things. I hated the way you sounded, hated the way you looked. But hey, people have to look and listen to me every day normally anyway. So what? Why not do it here?
What's going to hurt?
You don't walk around with something covering up your face and not talking all day. So
well, no. I admit, when I'm at work, I do wear a bag over my head. So no, I don't really. Honestly, I don't.
There's Jeff. He's got. That's the one with the sack over his head. With the males.
Well, a few years ago, they used to have this show called The Gong Show, and there's this one guy that called himself the Masked Comic, and he was on there a lot, and he always had a brown paper bag over his head. And so I just remember one time in particular, he would come out and he would say stuff, and all he had was the eyes and everything. Well, he said, well, today I decided on the show I'm going to bring in my grandfather. And so he calls him in, and all of a sudden here it comes, and it's this guy with this really wrinkled bag on his head. It was just instantly, people were just screaming, laughing. It was instantly funny. Miss Eileen, one of the things I need for you to do is to send me a list of your various tutorials on the various services so that I can include them in the show notes whenever I release this episode.
It would just be my YouTube channel, because I've got.
Okay, you already got them.
I've even got Snapchat for seniors. If anybody wants to explore Snapchat, I started a little series. I've got 2 so far in the series, and I'll give you that link for my YouTube channel. And
I suppose you've done Periscope as well.
Got a Periscope tutorial. I've got like 4 Blab tutorials. And even though Blab, I don't know if things are going to change, but right now all those tutorials are still good to go for Blab as it stands right now. June 29th, 2016.
Yeah, that's it.
That's just that you just know now they're going to change the whole platform tomorrow.
Which is why I haven't done a Huzza tutorial, because I'm talking about Huzza, and people were saying, well, you need to do a tutorial. And I'm like, well, I'm hoping that they do integrate some of the changes that we've asked them to make. In fact, I did have some talk with the developer, one of the kids, Justin, and like I said, we all love Blab so much. When we get on these other platforms, we're like, well, it doesn't do such and such a thing like Blab. Well, on Blab, I can do so-and-so. How come this new platform doesn't let me do a Blab? We're so spoiled. Blab has just spoiled us to death. And so there was a couple things like with when you start up a Huzza, it doesn't recognize your time zone, little things like that. So I don't want to do a tutorial, at least until they and he said he put it on a to-do.
Stabilize.
Yeah, he put it on a to-do list because that's like. And then it was military time. I'm like, wait, I can't add. I don't. I'm trying to create content here. I can't do math.
we use my military time at work. So my wife says, "Well, what time is it?" I'll say it's 23:28. She'll say it now.
Right. Thank you. I'm with her. I love your wife. Yeah. So little things.
I kind of do too.
Yes, little things like that, So, but yeah, on my YouTube channel, I've got Periscope, Snapchat, Blab. I've even got tons of YouTube tutorials as well as social media, Twitter, the whole thing. I've got like close to 200 videos there, and all of them tutorials. I did one time. I did a little comedy video though.
Oh, did you? Now Jeff has some comedy videos that are kind of like, on your YouTube channel. Yeah. Okay, you have to put your link on there where she can see it for your YouTube channel. But she has some. I mean, he has some things on there that are like special effects type comedy type stuff. I love it. I think it's cool. I don't have the wherewithal to do that. I'm the audio guy, but he's got some chops on video to where I just love to watch his stuff.
But I just like doing it because it gives you a platform, a reason for doing these things, and it's great to see other people. I think the YouTube and that is just really great to see so much creativity about there. Whereas if you watch all the top stuff, you just don't learn anything. There's so much you learn so much. Like I was just watching one from Larry Becker, and he does these 2-minute videos and just something on how to get the microphone out of the shot. Just one of these little things, like he had a boom mic over the top and, and then zoom out and you can see the microphone. And just how to get that out of the shot. So you've got your mic close, because the boom mic's always the better one, better than the lavalier, and just how to get it out. But I mean, it was just a 2-minute little video, and I've been doing this for quite some time, and I thought, I'd never even thought about doing that. And what he did was he'd film it, and then when you zoom back, he just takes another shot with the person there, just still 30 seconds without the microphone in shot, just stand, and then it just keys it out on the wide shot. Yep. And as I said, but you don't even think. You thought, of course you can do that, but you don't even think about it. And they're the great sort of videos. Like there's plenty. Yeah, we know about how to set, but it's these little things that the professionals might know, but but these things that nearly everybody needs to know, but don't want to be told in a 4-hour course on how to do this. They just want these nice little 2-minute videos, and I get so much out of them. So, and Larry Becker does a lot with the Periscope and that, but I've never got into that yet. So.
Oh, okay. Periscope, I don't use it as much because I think I probably got more interested in doing these platforms where you can have a conversation, where as opposed to the broadcaster, everybody must listen to me. I do that enough on my YouTube videos, right? So I love having conversation. Now, like you just introduced me to Larry Becker. So see, now I'm going to go and look him up, and
Oh, you love him. You love his videos because he's just. But he's great to listen to. But Larry Becker, I don't know if you know B&H.
Yeah, B&H photos.
He does a lot of the infomercial type things. He used to do a lot of that and work for Kelby One, doing a lot of their tutorials. But he's moved on from there now. But he used to doing a lot of his own things now. So definitely have a look him up because he does a lot of good work.
Okay. When you say Kelby, is that the one that's one of those guys that used to be Photoshop guys?
Yes.
Yes, Scott Kelby. Yeah, that's right.
How I
Kelby
started.
one,
That's how I started watching podcasts.
Because
and I even did a blog post about this when I very first started blogging. It was the Photoshop guys, also Yoga Amazing, Chaz from Yoga Amazing, and there's another one that I used to watch as a podcast. And, I started with watching video podcasts. And Yeah, but all those guys, Scott Kelby, and I can't even remember the other guys' names. They had, Russell Brown. I don't know whatever happened to Russell Brown. He used to be really good because he would put on costumes, and he was like, but he did Photoshop tutorials.
That's the next thing for Jeff and Jeffrey. Costumes.
Costume.
Yeah. We're gonna
Because Russell Brown would dress up like a doctor, but he had like these really striped suits on and things. And, he was like a mad professor. That's what he would dress up like, but he would call himself Dr. Russell Brown. And, his recipes and things and his medical advice was how to do things on Photoshop. And so, so I know the Kelby stuff. That's Scott Kelby's always been like a great photographer and a professional level of, sporting events and all that kind of stuff. And I've lost track with him because I don't use Photoshop like I used to. We're talking back at CS3 Photoshop.
Oh, gee, that's a while back, isn't it?
Now, a few years ago, when I was having my photography phase, they had a Kelby photo walk in Charleston, West Virginia, right here where I live, and actually really enjoyed that. It was actually illegal to walk around the town and take pictures, whereas sometimes if they see you taking pictures now, they worry that you're kind of case on the place for a terrorist attack or something. But if they have something organized like that, then you can actually walk around and just take pictures all you want. So it was but I really enjoyed that. Got to meet a few other my photo buddies, and my nephew-in-law, his brother is a priest, and he was there, and he had some great equipment. We really got to spend some time with him, and got to know him really well, because I had met him, but didn't get it. But I really enjoyed spending time with him. And there's a lot of people, and it's funny to watch some people taking a picture of the same thing. One person is just standing at eye level. One person's on one knee. One person's laying on their stomach taking that picture. And all these different people doing different things. I just love to step back and watch the techniques that other people have, and you wonder what they're getting whenever they do that.
Right.
I don't know, Jeff, if you saw one of my videos. I took a stuffed koala on holiday with me, and I took him around Los Angeles and around the Griffith Observatory, and I'm laying on my belly filming this koala, moving him sitting on, and then he was looking over the Hollywood sign, and then he was in the Mojave Desert, clinging to a signpost. I got him, and then he got to Las Vegas, and he was hanging on the light switch in the Aria Hotel. But they're the sort of things that are just good fun. Just gives you a reason to do it, because it's and he was driving the Volvo. I had him on the wheel, driving around. But it was called Colin. Colin does Colin the koala, and he did that. But I had good fun doing that, because it gives you just a reason for doing it. Sometimes, I had him in on Malibu, on the rocks in Malibu, with a seagull. The seagull came and sat next to him.
I'm trying to eat him. The seagulls are kind of tough.
But it just makes a big difference on there. Eileen, you were saying Photoshop CS3. One of the things I just really, really missed from one of the early Photoshops, I had a feature in there called Acquire, where you could use it with your scanner, and you could put your scan, like I have a scanner with the negatives. If you put a 6 strip of negatives on your scanner in Photoshop, hit the Acquire, it would make 6 images and 6 JPEG files for you.
Wow.
And they took that out. And now you have to scan each individual one, but you used to make your scanning so quick, because you could put on a flatbed scanner, put 6 or however many pictures on there, and Photoshop would determine it was 6 different pictures and make 6 separate files.
Wow. But
they took that out. That was called the Twain technology. Remember the Twain technology?
Sounds familiar. That name does sound familiar.
The first.
Do you know what
hand scanner before the.
You know what that stood for, don't you? The Twain technology.
Oh, I used to know. I can't remember now. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Technology without an important name. That's
That
what
was
it used
the
to
one
be.
I remember. That is the one I remember at all.
No, but that was true. That's what Twain was. Twain Technology, because they never knew what to call it. You see,
funny.
but they took that out. They took that out for other things, and I thought there's just back then that was such a great thing, and I still miss that feature.
Well, nobody uses film anymore, though.
No, but this is to to scan my pictures, but anything on your scanner. If you just put just for image anything, it would do. But like you probably said that, you're probably right there. That it's just you do it once for 5 years trying to get your photos done, and then you never use it again. But still, because of that, I still haven't done all my photos because I'll be here for the next 1,000 years, I think, with the way you have to do them singularly, or else pay decent money to get somebody else to scan them properly.
Well, if you could get back one of your old computers, you might actually be able to use it for that. I found a use one time for my Commodore 64.
Oh my goodness.
Back in the 90s, I used it as a character generator. I was transferring 8mm film movies over to VHS at the time, and I brought out my Commodore 64 and used it as a character generator to tell what the next film was.
I did.
I
did that.
Who knew?
I did that for one of my first trips to Los Angeles in 1984. I did use the Commodore 64 as a character generator to do titles on there. It took about 20 minutes to generate this little title, and I thought it was fantastic. But I thought it was But back then there was nothing. You couldn't do anything. You'd had to have $100,000 studio to do a horrible little title. So that was sort of, gee, we can do things like that with a computer. And that was without the internet back then, wasn't it?
Oh, totally. Yeah, the internet.
No. So how
Really
we've
fancy.
changed.
We have definitely changed. So, Jeff, what were you thinking about the Britons leaving the EU? What were you thinking about that?
Well, it's got nothing to do with me. I don't live there anymore. But it's it'll be challenging for them, whatever they do. I'll just, the damned if they do and the damned if they don't. So, and I think it's, I don't know. But it's certainly, if they say it's wrong, well, they've already upset the markets now, haven't they? It's not as though they can get out of it now. They better go ahead with it, seeing as they've done that. But
Jeff, looks like
how it goes.
You got somebody else calling in. You want to let somebody else in?
Let's see there. Let's see on there. We've got another few minutes. We've got about 7 minutes left before we say goodbye to this blab. Let's see. We've got Al.
It's big.
Somebody's there.
Hello,
Al.
Yeah, good morning.
Hello. No, that was good. That was a quick one, in and out. So.
English, well.
That's
Some
right.
people come here to learn how to speak English.
Well, okay, that's good. I wonder if it would be the Queen's English or American English or Australian English.
No, I've heard some tape. I speak American English.
Oh,
He speaks. That's what some people say. I speak American English.
Yeah, no, there's even categories within that. I'm from West Virginia, so I'm supposed to be kind of talking like this. Now, you don't want somebody to learn from somebody that talks like that, now, do you?
All depends what you want them to talk about, though, I suppose.
That is true. That is entirely true.
That's right. So, no special way, but we've got all sorts of different accents around the place, haven't we? So
I think we do. Miss Eileen, before the show kicks us out, no, we're not going to be kicked out completely, but before the music starts up, you want to tell us how we can find all of your stuff and everything you do? Because again, I will say she is the fancy social media guru person of the age. So anyway, take it away.
I can.
okay. I have a few blogs, but the primary one where you can find everything is eileensmith.com, and that's ILEANE. A lot of people try to spell Eileen wrong, so it's eileensmith.com.
So put that out there. So I'm definitely going to have a look at and subscribe to your YouTube channel. But it always amazes me, Arlene. No matter how much I look at YouTube and find things, I always find somebody else that I want to watch. And you think, how did I miss you? And of course, you think I would have been looking at that. But how did I miss you? But it's like everything else. When you want to, you've never seen this particular brand of car or automobile, whatever you want to call it.
Then you see it all over.
When as soon as you've bought one or you want one, everybody's got it. But it's the same thing. I've never seen you before in this. I've just seen you once, but now I'll see you everywhere. I'll see you on Twitter, everything.
Well, it was great meeting you, and thanks so much, guys, for having me on the show. And I'm in Philadelphia. And we actually have a meetup group, the Philadelphia Podcasting Meetup Group, and we're having our meetup tonight.
Okay. I'm going to have to. I suppose you have a website for that too. It's probably on
Meetup. On Meetup, and also we have a Facebook group for it as well.
Cool. So Philadelphia.
And I'll just give you the link for that. So that would be eileensmith.com/meetup.
Okay.
And that'll get you over to the meetup page, where you can see. And so we're expecting a nice little turnout. We started the group this year. My daughter, actually, she's a podcaster as well, Nikki Purvey. And so she actually is more prolific with her podcast than I am right at this moment. But and so we really enjoy I was so surprised the day when I had the idea and she said, yeah, Mom, that's a good idea. Let's do it. And I was like, I cannot believe there's not another podcasting meetup here in Philadelphia.
As large an area as that is, you would think there would be a lot. Now you can understand where I live at because there's probably 3 times as many people just in Philadelphia as we have in our entire state. Do you guys in Philadelphia, do you accept visitors, people that import from other places maybe at some point?
Absolutely. For the meetup. Okay. Yep. Just RSVP there on the meetup page, and then we'll know who to expect because we get pizza. And my daughter is insisted on buying beer, and I'm like, you're gonna get tired of buying that free beer, okay?
But you'll get a lot of people coming probably if you got free beer.
Nobody's trying to overdo it or anything, but we have pizza, and then I'm going to add some extra refreshments tonight. We'll see what I pick up on my travels on my way over, because she rents space in an office building. She has her own web design. And so they have conference rooms in this building, and it's 2424 York Street here in Philadelphia. So that's where we're going to have our meetup at tonight.
So is it 7 a.m. for you there?
Let me see. See, I'm off today, so I don't have to pay as much attention to the time as I normally. Yes.
She's on the same time zone that I am. She's just not north of where I'm at.
Yeah, no, I'm 9 p.m. tonight.
Oh, okay.
9 p.m. already. So I've had my Wednesday. That's nearly over. So
yeah, we get to start a new one now.
That's right.
Oh, you keep going and going.
Normally, I would have already been on my way out the door for work, but like I said, took off today. I always take off when we have the meetups.
Okay.
Oh, well, that's good.
So I can get
prepare for that. But then I'll have a nap for it.
Okay, guys. So thanks again. And
thank you. No Thank you for coming in. I really appreciate you coming to see us.
All right. You guys take care. I followed you on Twitter, Jeff, and added you to my podcasters list. And I better double check on you, Jeff, and make sure you're in that podcasters list as well.
I didn't know you had one.
Yeah, it's a Twitter list. Yes. Okay.
Cool.
Okay, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye for now. So that was great to have somebody else come in to see us for a change. Because hey, next week we've got a break though, haven't we?
Yes, we do. That's one thing I guess we better say something about. Yeah. Because I am I'm going to be on holiday, and so I will not be available to do the show. So we'll
funnily enough, if I hadn't had trouble getting in, I was thinking about it. It says, "You've come to the 4th of July weekly catch up." This week we talk about the 4th of July and what's coming. I was going to do something like that, but I thought I got so annoyed that I couldn't get in. I thought I forgot all about that until then. I thought It's the weekly catch up, 4th of July special.
Yeah, that would be an interesting special when Australians take on the 4th of July in the United States.
That's right.
It's like,
I always remember that because it's my mother's 89th birthday on the 4th of July, so I can't forget the 4th of July. Can you?
No. I'd imagine not. No, that's pretty cool. I like that.
So next week, and then we'll be back with a vengeance.
Yes.
The week after that, and so we'll have some fantastic content. No, we won't. It's just us.
Well, no, actually, I had more stuff that I was planning on doing, but I have a list of things that that I plan on bringing up, and I've probably got 3 or 4 or 5 more things already. Then I'll be adding more to my list, I guess. So.
Yes, that's what I had. But it's always good. But what I like with us on here, we just get talking and talking and talking. Don't like to be scripted or anything, because that's the whole point of Blab. You just say what you want.
Yes, you do.
Anyway,
yes, you do.
So that looks like it's getting about the time where we nearly finish up the show, isn't it? So
I do believe so.
Okay, so we'll wrap it up there and say thanks for anybody who's watching, and really do appreciate Eileen for you popping in and spending some time with us. And I do mean I'm going to check out her YouTube channel.
Definitely.
And I think I'm going to bother her and keep in touch with Eileen. Seems like a very nice lady to keep in contact with. So.
Oh yeah, no, she's a sweetie.
Found another great friend on this forum already. So thank you once again for that. So, on that, so I will say goodbye for now. So that's about it for the recording.